the game that is sweeping the nation. Predict Brock's payday. And until this thing gets signed, that's going to be the deal. So that is today's story of the day. Predicting Purdy's payday. And you can see a very happy Brock Purdy there. And I'll tell you why in just a second, why Brock Purdy is so happy. Now, I've got a $59 million average annual value, which is his yearly salary. I have a $5 and $295 deal, and I have 150 guaranteed. I think it might be between 145 and 150. But I'll explain all those things, and all you have to do is go to JohnLundUnleashed.com, and I've written this piece. So we'll go through that in just a second. But as we play the game show, predict Purdy's payday. So that very slowly. Predict Purdy's payday. This is where a lot of this started to emanate from, and I'll explain after I play this. This is Mike Garafolo a few days ago from the NFL Network talking about one metric that agents use to gauge whether their client, in this case Brock Purdy, is properly paid.
Now, if you go back over the last 5 years or so and you see the quarterback deals that were done, the average per year is usually like anywhere from 21-ish to 25% of the salary cap. If it's on the low end of that, he's going to clear guys like Trevor Lawrence. Now, he's not going to get the Dak Prescott's number of 60, but he'll be in the high 50s. If he really wanted to push it to Joe Burrow, who took the biggest chunk of the salary cap, that's like $68 million per year. I don't get the sense that Brock Purdy wants to go there because that's going to hurt the team's ability to do other things like we were just talking about.
So welcome to JohnLundUnleashed.com. That is the website, home, podcasts, YouTube, blogs. Contact me. You got all the social media up top there. That is where you go for everything Unleashed. So let's move down. Predicting Purdy's payday. And it's going to be a lot. Now, Mike Garafolo of the NFL Network, who knows what he's talking about? But that is just one parameter in which the agents look at it and say, okay, what percentage is he getting of the cap? So let's go over everything that an agent may look at to say, my guy is properly paid. And all it is just, it's really just like in math, I used to hate this, but in math, you'd have story problems and you just stick in the numbers. And that's all he's doing. He's just saying, okay, let's stick in the numbers here. So I'm going to do two things with this first one here, right here. All right. The first paragraph here, including 2025, these are the highest paid quarterbacks the last 10 years. Dak again, Joe Burrow, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes again, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Matthew Stafford, Andrew Luck. Now, one thing I've put there is their quarterback rating in the year that they got paid, which 8 of the 10 guys had a quarterback rating under 100. And nowadays, 100, that's when you're an elite quarterback. And I realize as I write here, quarterback rating is a flawed stat and doesn't necessarily determine the best quarterback season, but it illustrates over the last 10 years that the highest paid signal caller had under a 100 rating in 8 of those 10 chances to be highest paid. And Dak Prescott missed 9 games last year, and Joe Burrow in 2023 missed 7 games. So it doesn't mean that you're the highest paid, which means you're the best. What it means is you don't have to be the greatest. You'll hear me say this a lot. You just have to be the latest. But the bigger part of that picture, as you look at it right there, is the fact from Andrew Luck in 2016 to Dak Prescott in 2025, that's 10 years, the salary of quarterbacks has gone from $24.6 million to $60 million, or 144%. So for those who are saying that Brock Purdy's not going to get the money, think about it like this. The number doesn't ever go down, and the platforms are making the number go higher. And oh, by the way, the last 2 years in the salary cap, it's gone up about $50 million, including about $23 million this year. So it's a 144% increase over 10 years. I don't want to freak you out with numbers like, oh my God, Lund, stop with the numbers. Just real quick. Over 10 years, 144%, that's 14.4% every year that a quarterback's salary goes up. But on top of that, this year's salary cap goes up another 9%, and you're seeing that Brock Purdy's not going to get the $55 million. Brock Purdy's going to get a lot on top of that, so we'll get to that in just a second. Now, this is what Mike Garafolo was just talking about. For 2025, this is the percent of salary cap that a player is taking up. So Joe Burrow, 24.47. Let's just call it 24.5. Dak, 23.49. Lamar, blah, 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 blah. Of the top quarterbacks, you see at the bottom there, bottom 2 quarterbacks in percentage of salary cap used. And remember, the cap went up 9 extra percent. So Love and Lawrence got 21.53 of a $254.4 million cap. Now it's 279.2. So 21.53% of both of those guys. And Brock Purdy, sorry to tell you, he's not in my rankings. I don't have him ranked very high. Sorry, he's going to get a higher percentage than Jordan Love and Trevor Lawrence. So these are the parameters that I just told you about that an agent is going to look at to make sure that his guy is among the highest paid when he comes up. Got to be the latest, don't have to be the greatest. AAV, which is annual average value. Average right now among the top 10 quarterbacks, 53. Percentage of cap, 22.7. Guaranteed money, which is all that matters. Everything else is just a smokescreen. Brandon Ayuk has a 4-year, $120 million contract, and most people think that's $30 million a year. No, it's not. It's $3 and $76, which is still a hell of a lot of money, but 27.3 is different than 30. The guarantee is what matters, and about 50% of the money is on average guaranteed to the top 10 quarterbacks. 282.7 is the value. 126 million among the top 10 quarterbacks is the average guarantee, and the average years is 5 years. He will get 5 years. So rather than go over all those numbers with you, it's very, very simple. If you took the baseline right there where my arrow is of $55 million and you added on just the 14% that the year-to-year quarterbacks go up, 9% that the cap is going to go up, he's over $60 million at that particular point. So everybody's looking at this thing going, well, he can't get $60 million. Yeah, he can get $60 million and probably will get damn close to $60 million. I'll get to it in just a second. The other thing about Brock Purdy's deal is, and why it's going to get done, is because not very often does a good quarterback, make it to free agency. And Sam Darnold did. So if the 49ers wanted to create leverage for themselves, they easily could have. They knew Sam Darnold from 2023. He backed up Brock Purdy. They could have said, you know what, Seattle, he went to Seattle for 3 years and $110 million. Whoa. He went to Seattle for 1 year and $35 million guaranteed. So if Jed York and the 49ers did not want to pay Brock Purdy, they had a guy who is top 5 in MVP voting, that they know who is in their building in 2023, knows they can run this offense, and yet, as far as I'm told, they never made a call. Why? Because they want Brock Purdy the whole time. And don't get me started with Aaron Rodgers. There's no friggin' way that Aaron Rodgers is coming here. As I read at the end of that paragraph, Kyle and Aaron would be at each other's throats in mere minutes, and if they weren't, Robert Saleh would be an ex-defensive coordinator of the 49ers for a second time shortly after Rodgers was announced to the 49ers. So they had opportunities to have leverage against Brock Purdy, Sam Darnold in particular, who's 27 years old, not much older than Brock at 25, played good football last year. They saw him up close and personal. They know he's a good guy. Could have had some leverage with him. They never made the call. So they don't have any leverage. This isn't Brandon Ayuk. I don't know why everybody seemed to be on crack in 2024. It's like, oh, my God, we got to pay Brandon Ayuk all this money. No, you don't. There's a bunch of receivers coming right after him every single year. There's a boatload of receivers. You don't have to pay him $30 million. Brock Purdy's different. There aren't enough guys in the world who can do what Brock Purdy has done and what Brock Purdy is going to do. He has a quarterback rating in his brief career of over 104, which would be best of all time. He's 25 years old and has been to 2 NFC championship games and a Super Bowl. I realize that he had help. But however you want to list Brock Purdy, and a lot of people on a national level want to hold 262 against him. If this was Mac Jones, first-round pick, 15th overall, give him all the money. People still can't get past the fact that Brock was 262 and his salary is going to jump from $1 million AAV to over $60 million AAV or damn close to it. But that's the way it goes. It doesn't matter once you're drafted. Once you get that money, he's a 7th-round pick, 262. It does not matter. You know what matters? Leverage and latest. I just told you, the 49ers don't have any leverage because there's not any quarterbacks out there that can take Brock's place. I want to trade 2 first-round picks. Okay, who you taking? Where are you getting those picks? Are you sure Shedeur Sanders is going to be really, really good? Because Cam Ward's going number 1. So after that, you're going to take Shedeur Sanders. You're going to take Jackson Dart. You're going to take that kind of a chance when you know that Brock Purdy fits perfectly in your offense. And Brock Purdy is not going to be on the police blotter in the morning. And that is huge when you're going to give a guy nearly $300 million, which is what the 49ers are going to do. I'm not saying he's Steph Curry, but he's a hell of a leader. He doesn't get in trouble, and that's a big deal for a franchise. So back to the screen. This is how I see it ending up. Now let's go back up there. Remember, the parameters that an agent wants to see, the percentage of the cap, 22.7, the AAV, 53, but you got to put on at least the 14% on Brock Purdy on top of that $53 million. So now you're looking close to $60 million. The guarantee, probably going to be around there, 50%. $283 million roughly is what the average among the top 10 is, and the average guarantee is 126. Again, not the greatest, but the latest. He's going to get paid more. So this is how I see it ending up. It says these numbers would get Purdy. Total value, $295 million, which would be third behind Mahomes and Allen. Trevor Lawrence right now is $275 million. Purdy's better. Purdy would top that. If you don't believe that Purdy's better, Go watch, first and foremost. Go look at the numbers, secondly. And thirdly, team success. He has them all. AAV, I've got $59 million, and I'll explain why. The average annual value, which is funny money, and the only people who care are the player and the agent. Dak Prescott's got $60 million. Burrow, Lawrence, and Josh Allen are at $55 million. And as I said, total AAV is funny money. Ayuk 4-120 is really 3-76. Sam Darnold's 3-110 is really 1-35. AAV is fluff and agent bragging. It doesn't mean what he's going to get. What means something is fully guaranteed. As I put down there, $145 million, which would be fourth. Deshaun Watson, $230. Josh Allen, $147 million. And Joe Burrow, $146.5. Fourth is Trevor Lawrence at $142. Purdy's side would insist that he had more guaranteed money than Lawrence. This is year to year. It's not going to be flat. It never is. Over a 10-year period, 144% is what quarterback salaries have gone up from Andrew Luck in 2016 and $24.6 million to Dak Prescott at $60 million the last two seasons, 144%. It's not going to stay flat. Plus, the salary cap just went up another 9% year to year. So Brock is going to get more money. It's just the way it is. So the metrics right there. Dun, 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 my Brock contract prediction. And I will post this. And you can all laugh at me when it doesn't come true. But as I said, the agent goes through a checklist. Boom, 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 boom. And these are the ones that he looks at. AAV, he wants 60. The Niners are going to go to the agent and say, look, man, it's funny money anyway. Can we just save face and be under 60 and be at 59? Percentage of the cap would be low, though, at 21.3%. As I said, when you looked last year at Love and Lawrence, who got their deals done last year as young quarterbacks, who get 21.53%, but they make it up in the guarantee a little bit. They don't go quite to 50%. Remember, 47.9% is the number amongst the top 10 quarterbacks. He's at 49% in my prediction. And the total value of the deal, to save face with the 49ers, $295 million instead of $300 million, and a total guarantee just over Trevor Lawrence at $145 million. And 5 years is what the deal is now. Here's the biggest thing is you see the final paragraph there at JNL&x.com. How soon can it get done? As I write there, it's imperative Purdy and the 49ers get a deal done quickly so he can be on the field. Clearly, the 49ers don't want a situation like last year. Brandon Ayuk holds out, holds in. Trent Williams holds out. And the season with that kind of a start was an absolute disaster. So they got to get Brock Purdy in. It's the amount, it's the number, it's the guarantee, it's the AAV, it's all these different things. Everybody's got egos. The Niners want this. The agent wants that. But at the end of the day, people are wrong thinking. I think that he could get above 59. As I said, predicting Brock's contract, 59, 5-295. I'm saying 145 to 150. I said 145 in the story. He could get 300. He could get that number. He could just hold out and say, look, I want 300. I want it to say 300, which is exactly $60 million a year. And I can guarantee you Brock's side wants 60.1 to top Dak Prescott. And they may have to do it because there are no other quarterbacks out there. The 49ers have shown their hand. They didn't go after Sam Darnold. They're not going after Aaron Rodgers or what's left of Aaron Rodgers. No, no, no. Mac Jones is not competition. Mac Jones is not leverage. It's Brock Purdy. He's not the greatest, but he is the latest.